Some big plans and ambitions amongst those new ministers. What will it all cost? Now, one of the key battlegrounds during the election campaign was National's $11.7 billion fiscal hole claim, widely discredited by all except Stephen Joyce and Bill English themselves. It pointed to the likelihood that finance will be the blowtorch portfolio, the area where National targets the most scrutiny, the most heat and demands the most light. Joining us now live is the incoming Finance Minister, Grant Robertson. Are you there, Mr Robertson?
I am, John. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's an exciting day.
Yeah, it is an exciting day. It is a blowtorch portfolio, isn't it? The Nats are going to be all over you like a rash, aren't they?
Oh, well, every opposition, takes great interest in what a government does and how it's paying for what it does, so I'd expect nothing less from that. Certainly hope that Mr Joyce might tidy up his accuracy of what he said during the election campaign if he's going to be holding that role. But
did you hear him on Morning Report this morning? Did you hear him on Morning Report?
I did.
Yeah,
I did hear him on Morning Report.
So the question is, so he wasn't saying 11.7 billion, although Susie held him to account about that, but he was saying you are going on holiday with 3 suitcases stuffed into one. And if we look at the 70 commitments that have risen, 70 plus commitments that have risen out of the coalition negotiations, and then we look at the money that you had unallocated in your fiscal plan after pre-fu, there isn't enough, is there?
Oh, no, I don't agree with that at all. In fact, Mr Joyce completely confused himself again on the radio this morning. The $1 billion Regional Development Fund will largely be funded out of unallocated capital expenditure. He was talking about the $4 billion worth of unallocated operational expenditure, the day-to-day expenditure. We have in our fiscal plan over a 4-year period $10 billion of unallocated capital spending. The vast majority, as Shane Jones just said in Sarah's track before, of that Regional Development Fund is about the neglected infrastructure in our regions, rail, airports, roads, some of the work we want to do around ports as well. So we have the money to do this. We have to be fiscally responsible. We know that. That's why we set those rules out. But I'm very confident we have the money to pay for what we're doing.
Okay, you have the money to do it based on some fairly optimistic Treasury projections, right? So if you look at the revenue side, and if you look at Winston Peters' sense of foreboding about what the economy might be about to do, the $10 million unallocated needs to guard against a downturn in revenue, all sorts of contingencies, all sorts of rainy day expenditure, plus the 70-plus coalition agreement policies. In other words, even if you're being kind at this stage, that money is stretched, isn't it?
Look, we've got an ambitious program, John, and I don't have any apology for that. There are a huge number of areas where we need to do much better than we've done in the past, in health and education and in housing and supporting our regions. I don't apologise for that program, and we're aware that we're going to have to work hard to be able to deliver it. But those are the forecasts we're dealing with, and we'll take into account the fact that Mr Peters has highlighted something that many economists recognise, that there may be some headwinds ahead for the New Zealand economy, but we're confident that on the basis of what Treasury's provided, that we can do this. We'll get into government. I'll get my first proper briefing from the Treasury tomorrow, and we'll take a look at those numbers then.
Is Mr Peters right about the headwinds? Are they winds you fear?
Oh, look, I think everyone looking around the global economy is aware that, there are certain risks there, but I'm confident about New Zealand. I think that the New Zealand economy, particularly when we start to invest, in our regions where we lift our work on research and development, that we put more resources into education and training, I'm really confident about New Zealand and New Zealanders' ability to be productive and to, give us prosperity. We will have to work alongside them to do that, but we've got the ability.
What's the best way you can invest in the regions? Let's take the Central North Island, for example, Taumarunui, which has been a bit down on its luck in the last few years. How do you spend money effectively, meaningfully, successfully in communities which are struggling?
Look, each community is different, so it's very hard to generalise in that regard. But let's take an example like rail. We've seen New Zealand's rail network be underinvested in. We've seen the fact that we aren't moving freight and goods on rail as anywhere near as much as we could. We aren't moving people in it, if you look at the Golden Triangle either. If we start to get that right, we have a fully functioning rail network. We move to electrification. We actually start making sure that people have confidence that it's the best way to move their goods around, that they can move them quickly. That'll make a big difference. We also know that we've got to make sure that in those those places that there was good broadband. We still don't have a proper rollout of rural broadband across New Zealand. There are an enormous range of ways that we can be more supportive in our regions, and that then gives people confidence to invest there, start to create job opportunities there. And I guess that's the other point I'd like to make, John, is now we tend to think of these things purely in terms of cost. There is a huge return to New Zealand if regional New Zealand's humming. It's creating jobs, and those people are paying taxes, and that money flows through the economy and they're spending as well. Too often we've seen this just as a cost when actually it's an investment in our future.
Very quick answer, if possible. What is the thing you hope to achieve that will be most meaningful for a first term of a Labour government?
I want to see unemployment come down to 4% and below, and for the jobs that we create to be ones that are meaningful and well paid.
Grant Robertson, incoming Finance Minister, who will be up at Government House tomorrow to be sworn in. Thank you very much indeed for your time this evening.